Community interview is made possible by Shaw and Associates.
I'm Dave Shaw, President and CEO of Shaw & Associates. For over 70 years, Shaw & Associates has been your trusted experts for wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. We change lives and inspire true wealth, one person, one family, one business at a time. Shaw & Associates is a wealth management investment firm that specializes in taxes, serving as a fiduciary, putting your interests first. You can find more information or schedule an appointment by calling 530-674-1150 or on the web at shawassociatesinc.com. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community radio.
And we appreciate Dave Shaw for supporting community radio, but mostly just because Dave is actually a nice guy. I don't care what you've heard about him. Unlike my other friends. How you doing, Virg?
I'm doing great. Hey, Dave Shaw got up and sang Hotel California in the right key with Brian and, was it you and Kevin?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Brian and Kevin at City Cafe for the grand opening, and it was awesome. It was just, he did a great job.
Well, we did a fundraiser, which we're getting ready to do another one, but he came in and DJ'd. Found out that years ago he DJ'd. So the other day he helped me out with something. We couldn't get the signal squared away, and the guy takes off work, goes out in his truck to listen to the radio for me. Now, I know he's a busy guy. It's tax season, and Shaw's out there. He's out in his truck going, yeah, Fish, you got it, right? Because I was out of town, right? But I told Pablo, I said, Dave likes 80s music. And I said, man, put a whole bunch of 80s songs together in the cart. And I told Dave, you just come in. Come in when you want, man. We'll just jump on the air, right?
Well, he used to be a serious rock guy. Singing and touring and that whole thing, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I know he played drums, but he said he played something else too. What did he tell you?
Drums was the main thing I remember.
I was
think he
thinking
does
keyboard.
play.
No keyboard. Anyway,
Clarinet.
very good singer.
Dave will text us and square that away. You know, it's like
That's all
I was
good.
doing my aunt's estate taxes. I just met him recently.
He's a really nice guy. Brian Nakagawa. Did I get it right? Nakagawa. He's like,
Well, when I used to substitute teach, I used to get a lot of Spanish kids. And they always used to say Nakawate for some reason. I don't know.
they just made up a new name for you,
It was more
Brian.
familiar to them or something. I don't know.
Yes.
So, Brian, you're a local boy.
Yes.
You grew up here, went to high school.
That's right.
Go Indians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I played on the basketball team and the tennis team. Went to Yuba College, and then eventually got over to UC Davis.
And what did you major in? Music. No?
Psychology.
Oh, now I'm worried. Brian, who's going to interview here this morning?
Well,
Brian be turning it around, That was my minor. My major was business, but
Well, as I mentioned, I went into substitute teaching or elementary school teaching. So I
you
thought
need psychology.
you need psychology, yeah. We need it in general anyway, but
So how did you end up? Where did the music bug hit Brian? When did that happen?
my dad, he was sort of a amateur jack of all trades. He played the harmonica, played the ukulele, messed around with the saxophone.
Wow.
He loved to sing. I recorded a version of him doing Somewhere Over the Rainbow before he passed. So they love music. My mom had a piano. I never heard her play it. I've rarely even heard her ever sing anything, but she likes music. And when I was young, they would take us to the music circus.
Oh, down in
Sacramento.
Yeah.
And so The Sound of Music, Oklahoma, Jose Feliciano performed one year.
Wow.
And they would have these season tickets. And that music gets into your bones, I mean, I still hear those songs in my head.
It does.
And it was beautiful music, not just 3-chord rock and roll. It was
Yeah.
pretty complex.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, they actually play a diminished now and then.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
we were
do.
like, what's that?
right.
So it just kind of got in your blood. So did you start playing? Because I know you play guitar. I don't know what else you play. But did you start playing like in high school or before?
Well, I took clarinet lessons when I was in elementary school,
Uh-huh.
and that just didn't interest me. My mom tried to get me to take piano lessons. That didn't last very long either. But when I was in elementary school, it got to be the age of the Beatles.
Oh,
You know.
yeah.
And I remember I was in the talent show, and we had long wigs on, and we pantomime, She Loves You or something like that. And so there became a love of this like rock and roll. And it was just something that seemed to resonate with me. Some people, music, it just doesn't move them. They don't care for it.
And I can't figure that out.
It's hard for me to
You should
understand.
psychoanalyze those people. There's something
Exactly.
wrong with them.
There is.
The Beatles changed because before that we were, listening. I mean, I like the Everly Brothers and some of that, Elvis. But I was laying in bed listening to AM radio, and the Beatles came on first time I heard them. And I'm like 12, 13 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, music just changed. You could feel it. You knew music was different. That's my generation, right? And from there, it just was, yeah.
It was that whole Beatlemania thing, man.
It was, man. I mean,
fire.
I wasn't out there screaming with the girls, but I was shouting, yes! Actually, I was shouting, yeah, yeah, yeah. Great songwriters, quick 5-year lifespan of the band. I mean, it went on, but
They did so much.
in 5 years,
Yeah.
it was like crazy.
Yeah.
So do you have when you talk about influence, because you let the cat out of the bag before you got on the air and told me that you write, so you write your own music.
Mm-hmm.
So if I ask you who is your greatest influence, would it be the Beatles?
They would be right in there. But, I started out like all the kids in that age when I was growing up, learning these 3-chord songs. Little
Louie,
Black
Louie.
Egg, Gloria, Louie Louie.
They were required.
Well, it was perfect if you were learning guitar because you didn't really have to be very good.
Yeah.
But eventually, we moved on, started learning Creedence Clearwater, Santana. Eventually even got into some horn bands, Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah.
We actually won the Battle of the Bands one year. And they were holding out there at the fairgrounds. And the Jades were our competition, and they had some really good rock guys and stuff. But the judges were like high school band members, so they really appreciated the horns, and we play a little more sophisticated type music, and we won. I think there was some booze when that was announced, but that was sort of the evolution of my musical knowledge. Now, when we played in that horn band, the trombone player, he ended up going. He was in UC Davis. He was a med student. He became a great doctor and everything. But he had been playing in jazz bands on trombone, and he was also had taken classical piano lessons. And so he had amazing chops on piano. I mean, I'll have to play some of his stuff on Facebook. But anyway, he eventually started playing keyboard with us, and then he had his own sort of like jazz group playing, Tom Scott and the Crusaders and George Benson.
Oh, I love George Benson. He
Oh, me
reminds me
too.
of Wes Montgomery.
Well, he's another one of my top influences too. I think he's probably the best jazz guitar player who ever lived.
Yeah.
But so Phil, this keyboard player, he brought me in, and also another local guy, Kenny Wamoto, who was going to Davis and was actually one of my roommates. My uncle used to teach there, and then he let us rent his house for we were all paying like $29 a month.
That is atypical of college students, right? Oh man, that's funny.
But anyway, my point was going to be that Phil had all this harmonic knowledge and this jazz knowledge, and us being able to play in that band, we learned. That's what we kind of.
Yeah.
He was like our teacher, our guru, for learning jazz, and we grew a lot from that.
I was sitting with a bunch of guys. You know how it's just great to sit down with people and play. I don't need an audience, right? We you know. So there was like 4 of us playing, and I kept looking at this guy across the way, and he's playing some. You know, I'm like, my fingers won't even stretch that far, right? And he's playing these jazz chords, and they're just gorgeous, right? And so finally, I couldn't resist it. I said, where did you learn those chords? He said, I like John Mayer, and I wanted to play his songs, and the only way I could was I had to learn the chords.
All right.
And that is a learning curve. If you have a band you really like, and whatever they're playing, you know, they used to have, I don't know if you remember, they used to have what was called fake books.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So when I played around, I was in this band in Sacramento, man, we all bought those fake books, which they reduced the song to 3 chords, right? No matter what it was.
Well, not the ones I saw.
Maybe a 2 chord, right? So they would throw stuff in there. And then it allowed you to, because we were a cover band, so it allowed you to play a lot of the stuff, just, you know.
They had this one fake book, which is like a must-have if you were a jazz musician. It was called The Real Book.
Oh, and that one had the real chords.
It had the real chords, and it had all the jazz standards.
Wow.
So every jazz musician, every musician in LA had those books. And if you went, you know, they used to have these gigs where you go play for weddings or parties, and these guys would have these companies, and they would just hire musicians. And these guys, you know, were some of the top musicians in the world. They were playing in, you know, sessions and stuff and going on the road. They'd get in town, they would need a little pocket money or something, whatever. And so you never know who these musicians are going to be. But they might call a jazz tune that maybe they weren't that familiar with it, and they could just read it, you know. And these books are great. I still have copies of it. So.
I've never met a chord Brian couldn't play, so.
Well, I didn't realize it, but because I played with so many different musicians, right? And some people, we always use the term classically trained. And those guys, I mean, they can sight read. I mean, there is nothing beyond what they can play.
That's right.
And then you had the hacks like me that played by ear. But I met guys that could play by ear that were amazing. I mean, they instantaneously they'd follow you on a song, or they'd, you know, and it's just great to be around them. Right? It's a great feeling. I mean, I played music with Virgil. Not very many people can say that.
Well, you know, I used to work with this Broadway guy named Ben Vereen.
Oh, I love that guy.
He was
that
in
guy
Roots.
could do anything.
Well,
Dance,
I played,
sing.
Exactly. And I played with him for about 7-8 years. And his band, the keyboard player, he's like the director of jazz at UNLV. The drummer played with Brian Setzer's band for years. Man. And these guys could read, what they say, the fly shit on anything, you know. I mean, they could. Can I say that?
No, but you already did, Brian. It's too late.
Well,
I don't have one of those buttons.
So anyway, I mean, these guys were amazing, and they played in this band. And if there was a new song, they just put the music out there. These guys could play it. I was more like you, playing by ear, hanging on by my fingernails, trying to keep up with these guys. But, you know, they recorded on Disney stuff, commercials, movies. The drummer, too, is, you know, excellent. So that, too, was quite a education.
I learned very early on, don't be shy. If you're not as good as the guys you're playing with, that's a key to getting better. So look for guys that can play better than you. And if you mess up, I was playing a guy. My drummer was in Drum and Bugle Corps, so he was exacting. I mean, his meter was, you know, because that's what he did, right?
Right.
And so we were playing someplace, and I made a mistake, and I stopped. So afterwards, we were talking, and he said, "Don't ever stop."
Nope.
He said, just keep going, or play the mistake again and they'll think you planned it. And I was like, you're Mr. Exact and you're telling me to do that. But,
well, I've had that experience. I was playing in a sort of like a little rehearsal band, but a lot of guys would come there. The director of this junior college, he had a book of all these jazz tunes, and a lot of guys would come to practice their sight reading. And there was this one song, Along Came Betty, had 1,000 chords in it, I swear, and they all just moved in weird. And there's a solo in there, and I remember I just got lost, and I just had to like stop. And it's not the first time this happened to somebody. I mean, I've even heard like Miles Davis or something. He got on the bandstand with Charlie Parker, couldn't figure, and he just stopped. So it's not the first time or the last time that's going to happen. You know, you're in there, you're doing your best, you're trying to figure it out, and sometimes that happens.
there is a song, and I can never remember it, but it has 23 key changes in it.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
There's only 12 keys, I think, isn't there?
yeah,
They just change it back and forth.
yeah, but the whole thing was when you hear the song, it's just a great song, but you're like, it does it. That was part of the movement of the song, and so I had the other day I couldn't remember it. I just text my son. It was this, right? You know. But, so how did you end up getting from being in L.A.? You started getting connected, and I know I wanted to talk to you. You actually played in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Well, just to back up a little bit, you know, I decided I wanted to go to L.A. and kind of try to see what the music scene was about, but I had really no clue what I was doing. You know, my parents didn't come from music. I didn't have any connections. So I just went down there. I had a teaching credential so I could have something to fall back on. So I would kind of adjust my schedule with substitute teaching. I could substitute 2 days a week, or I could do 5 days a week. And if I taught a certain amount of days per quarter, per semester, I qualified for health benefits. So that was another big advantage for doing that. And I just kind of adjusted my schedule. You know, you start playing around. I mean, I had some craziest gigs in the beginning, some really stupid things. But, you know, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and just trying to pay the rent every month. But eventually you start meeting musicians. And if you're good enough, you put in the work, when the moment arrives, if you're ready, then there will be opportunity. And so I kind of just gradually started meeting people, working my way up the ladder, and started getting some better gigs.
Before I got drafted, I'd gone out to L.A. with a high school buddy, and he was trying to get his music published. And so we're walking around, you know, Sunset Boulevard, going in all these places. And
Right.
Yeah. And so we went into this one place, and it was supposed to be Harry Nilsson, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we went in, and sure enough it was, and he looked like he'd been out all night. Later on we found out that's kind of probably true.
Uh-huh.
So he said, "Man, I thought I parked in your parking space, right?" And he goes, "Look, take the elevator with me, and I'll tell you about this publisher just down the strip." So we get in the elevator, and I'm just a young buck, man. I'm like 18 at that time.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, here's my opportunity. And I said, "So, what was the inspiration for One?" And he looks at me and he goes, "Think about it, man. It's the loneliest number." And okay, this is the 60s, right? I went, "Heavy, man, that's heavy." And that was my conversation with that was it, right? You know? Yeah, but you meet people. We went through there one day, and there's some guy putting microphones out on the street, right? Like he's picking up, you know, from a studio out on the street. Frank Zappa.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't go over and bother him. I was just like, that's Frank Zappa. He just setting mics up like they were going to, you know. I was, okay.
Like downtown Yuba City.
Yeah, it's like L.A., who knows?
You never
right?
know who you're going to run into.
Yeah. So how did you end up with doing Jesus Christ Superstar?
I was playing all these clubs. I was playing with this little like trio quartet, and we were doing a lot of nice gigs for in town. We were playing at the Ritz-Carlton and a lot of the nice restaurants and stuff. And we happened to play at this one Italian restaurant club in the valley, and what happens is, you know, people come up and they start talking to you, and so this one guy comes up and he's like, hey, you know, I do some studio work and I'm recording some songs, you know, would you be interested in coming out and playing on some of this stuff? So eventually I did end up working with him, and he had a lot of original songs, but he was doing sort of he was writing this original like Broadway musical about Rasputin or something like that, you know. And he had this guy Ted Neely come in, and he was recording. He knew Ted Neely. Now Ted Neely was the original
He
Jesus.
was the singer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That guy.
he could sing like nobody's business every night.
Clark Bushman told me him and his wife went down and saw him at the Crest
Right.
not that long ago, and said his voice is still just as good. Amazing.
Yeah, so eventually this guy who hired me to record, they hired him to be the conductor for this road tour of Jesus Christ Superstar in 1992, into 1992, and then he called me and said, would I be interested in coming out on the road with this thing? So I said, sure. So that's how I hooked up with that thing. And the last time I got up this early to do a gig was when I was with that show, and we played on the Today Show
No.
with Katie Couric and Bryant Gumbel at the time. So anyway, that's how it all kind of started there.
You know, you just don't know. You don't know who you're going to meet. My friend took me over. He actually ended up writing songs with Brian Wilson.
Oh.
So he takes me over to meet Brian Wilson. And I kept going, Don, you don't know Brian Wilson. He said, honest, I do, right? And it was during the time that Brian was not seeing people, right?
Oh.
So he pushes the button. He said, hey, Brian, it's Don. He said, go away, go away.
Oh, no.
So I met Brian Wilson tell me to go away. That was my experience. But Don later, he got a couple of songs that were supposed to be on the Holland album, I think it was. And then they finally did get released with him. But he stayed down there and tried to make it. That was the thing. You had that. You never knew. You didn't know who you were going to run into. Who was going. You just didn't know. You just
That's right.
made yourself available.
Right.
And of course, I made myself available to the United States military, so that was the end for me. Well, what a great thing. So, but you came back up here.
Well, first, my sister, she was living in Dublin. She worked for Pac Bell at the time, but she got cancer.
Ah.
And endometrial cancer, which is sort of rare. So I came back this way. I could still go on the road with Ben Vereen or Leslie Uggams.
Leslie Uggams.
Oh, she was
She's a sweetheart, isn't she?
spectacular.
Yeah.
Personality and her singing, too. I mean, I think she was very underrated.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You would see her, she would be on shows, different shows.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
It's amazing, too, because, you still see her in movies. You see her in these, she has got in these oddball parts because she's older, but she's still been very active through
Wow.
these later years. Yeah, so now I forgot where I was.
Well, if you had to look back and say that was because music is ever evolving in our lives, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I hear songs now. I still write, and it's
yeah.
like you just there is something about, but I can pick certain eras and things that happened musically in, of course, my life, and they're sort of, I know they changed things for me. You know, that brought me closer to the, you know, the very nature of music. And so with all the people you met and the different things you had an opportunity to, especially in L.A., I'm amazed you came back with your sanity. That's a testimony right there, because that's a wild, at least when I was down
That's
there,
true.
you never knew. Odd stuff had happened all the time. And
Yeah, I mean, I've done so many different kinds of things, you know, Jesus Christ Superstar, Ben Vereen, Leslie Uggams. But I've also played in, like, these black bands. The Chitlin Circuit, they called it.
yeah,
You know? And you probably wouldn't want to be walking around some of these neighborhoods by yourself. But if you played in the band, you were kind of accepted, you
Yeah,
know? So I never
yeah.
had any problems.
yeah.
All those different things kind of influence you and make you grow. I've always been not one to use altering substances,
Yeah.
and so a lot of my musician friends were like that too. You know, so they were very clean. They didn't have all these extra psychological weird stuff going on, although some of them did drink a little more than they should. But one of the guys I met, he was like a vegetarian and you know, very health conscious. He was pretty religious, real nice guy, and he ended up going to like the top of the heap. You know, everybody's trying to get up that totem
Yeah.
pole, and he made it to the top. You know, he was the conductor for the Oscars, for the Academy Awards. He was Jay Leno's music conductor for a while. He was on American Idol. And so I could see that you could be clean, you could be a good person and still be successful. You didn't have to do drugs or, you know, cheat your way up to the top or anything like that. So I've been fortunate just to work with some good people.
Cassidy.
Oh,
Oh no.
He said, can you get Brian Nakagawa's autograph before he leaves the studio? I love John. Only John would do that. John.
He's in L.A. at that gig we played last year.
Tyrannia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at, but he's down there for that thing. So.
Children's Miracle Network.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
program.
to tell you, I was just a young man, went to the movies and saw Jesus Christ Superstar, right? And I remember sitting in the theater, and it's a scene where Ted Neely's walking up the hill, and he's singing and talking to God. And I knew right then my life was going to change.
Really?
Yeah, it was that. And, you know, people go, oh, you can't have a spiritual experience. And or they'll try to explain to me, because I was a pastor for years. They try to explain to me that, well, Jesus Christ Superstar wasn't biblically correct. I don't really care. I don't really care. You know, it's like, man, you know, I always knew God was real, but he became real. And I think there was something about, in particular, his bluesy rock voice, because that was the beginning of what is referred to as the Jesus Revolution from the movie, or the hippie harvest. And there was a bunch of us kids. We were looking for love and peace. And we've found the Prince of Peace, and he loved us, and we were happy, and so it worked out. But you know, so people can say what they want about productions or whatever, but you never know. You never know what you do and who it's going to change.
That's true.
And I feel very strongly about that when it comes to music, because you know, people. Ever since we have moved away from the corporate music scene, and now you have all this individual music that comes out, man, we're hearing music that we probably never would have got to hear once it got controlled, you know? And then now it's like, I mean, I hear musicians all the time, and I'm just like, man, why weren't they number one, right? Because I'll be on YouTube and go, where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
You know, little kids that play better than anybody I knew played back when I played. Right? You know, it's like, I mean, whoa, how old's this kid? 11.
Oh, yeah.
11.
Well, YouTube is
David
helping
Real.
with some of that.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, you know, I mean, anybody can get their stuff out there
Yeah.
and let people hear it. The thing about Ted was, you know, it was kind of like typecasting with Ted Neely. You know, he was so gentle, and it was almost like he was Jesus, you know, because he was so compassionate and friendly and loving to all the fans. He would stay there till the end of the night, you know, to sign autographs and take pictures and talk with them. It was like he just fit that role. So that had to come across too, you know, in his acting, I think.
You know, that's something else. You never know where they're going to get these people. So when they put that together, somebody found Ted Neely. I don't know if he was playing in a band or where he came from prior to that.
Well,
But after that, man.
He's talked about this. He was playing in some rock band, and somebody, like, you know, dared him to, like, go and see what he could do. And so I think the band got in a bus or something, came out west, and started messing around. And, you know, he got a little bit of notoriety, but eventually he got to be the understudy for Jesus on Broadway in the Broadway musical. But he was just the understudy. He talked about, he would come to the theater one night and they would say, so and so is unable to perform tonight, and in his place is his understudy Ted Neely. And he said everybody would just go, ah.
Little did they know.
That's right. I mean, you know, so he came in there and he earned his way in, and then eventually got to do the movie, which, you know, totally changed his whole career.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
I'll bet. Because that movie was very popular. You know.
But at the time, you know, when that show first came out, it was very controversial.
Yep.
Because you did not mix rock and roll and religion back then.
Well, and especially the last scene with the tanks. There was no tanks during Jesus' time. But yeah, I thought it was very well done. But it just, for me, it was the experience. It was like he was able to convey that Son of God talking to his Father. And it was just very real. And I'm glad you told me that was basically his nature, because that comes out.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, 3 years, you know, what I started, and then he stops and goes, what you started? And he goes, it's a very, very well done, right? And he just dialed that in. So, Virg, I know you haven't talked much, and then, but John Cassidy, because, you know, Brian said that he wasn't. There was no substance abuse, but he said, remember, Virgil has overdosed on root beer during his musical journey.
Virgil's root beer.
Oh my gosh. That's just too much. All right. Well, I ran way over. The news supposed to be on. Brian, I'd love to have you come, and we'll do a time in the tank, right? Do a podcast and be able to kind of unwrap. You've had a great experience with that, if you're willing.
You know, one of the things I've done around here is I've recorded demos for people.
Oh.
I kind of like producing things, and I did one song on Virgil. He has
Really
this song,
awesome song.
Roxanne.
I've heard that.
I did one for Glennis.
That was a
She
great
and
song,
Dan
too.
Lizardo wrote this song called On the Avenue. And
Great
I have it's a
song.
video with the music in it. And I did this one for Larry Dumas, who's since passed. But he was really a great blues singer, harmonica player, songwriter, entertainer. And I did one of his songs called Fast Car. And really nice material with accompanying video. I don't know if you can work that in, but...
Well, we're getting ready to release our TV channel.
Oh.
And I can put anything I want on it.
Awesome.
There's a nice thing about being the guy, right?
Yeah.
It's like, people say, why'd you put that on there? Because I liked it.
Because I want to.
Yeah. You know. Well, anyway, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for
Virg, I don't believe in all the years I've known you, I've heard you that quiet.
I came to hear what Brian had to say, and a little bit of what Bob had to say, but mostly about what Brian had
Yeah,
to say.
no kidding. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
This community interview is made possible by Shaw and Associates.
So now you got.
I'm Dave Shaw, President and CEO of Shaw & Associates. For over 70 years, Shaw & Associates has been your trusted experts for wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. We change lives and inspire true wealth, one person, one family, one business at a time. Shaw & Associates is a wealth management investment firm that specializes in taxes, serving as a